Imagine an application where every tiny variation requires a unique block of code. You would end up duplicating thousands of lines, creating a system where fixing one bug means hunting down dozens of identical copies. Java addresses this through object-oriented programming and its four main pillars. The specific solution for this rigidity is polymorphism. The word polymorphism means many forms. In plain English, think about the word play. If you tell a child to play, they might grab some blocks. Tell a musician to play, and they reach for a guitar. The command is identical, but the action depends on the context. Java applies this logic across two distinct phases: compile time, when the code is translated into bytecode, and runtime, when the application is actively executing. Mastering both phases allows a developer to write a single set of instructions that can process a wide variety of data types and object behaviors. The process begins at compile time. Before the application ever launches, the Java compiler reads through the source code to prepare it for the virtual machine. This phase handles method overloading. The rule is that you can use the same method name multiple times in a class, provided you change the method signature, specifically the number, type, or order of the parameters. This is evident in the math.abs method within the Java class library. While the code here shows a version accepting a double, you likely need versions for integers or floats as well. Instead of requiring unique names for every number type, the compiler routes the data to the correct version of the method based strictly on the parameters you provide. Because the compiler performs this routing up front, the application does not have to spend processing cycles making these decisions during execution. This simplifies the API. Developers can use one intuitive name for a variety of similar actions, making the codebase easier to navigate and read. In other cases, the exact form of an object is unknown until the program is running. This brings us to Phase 2, runtime, occurring within the JVM architecture seen here. This is the domain of method overriding. Overriding requires inheritance between parent and child classes, and unlike overloading, the method signature must remain exactly the same. If an animal parent class has a generic make-sound method, a dog child class can override it to produce a specific bark. The call is the same, but the behavior is specialized. To determine which version of the code to trigger, the JVM uses dynamic method dispatch, a process managed by the execution engine. During execution, the engine looks at the actual object created in memory, rather than its reference type, to choose the correct logic. This allows a program to scale. The JVM can manage complex, unpredictable object behaviors on the fly, without requiring the developer to hardcode every possible scenario in advance. This is a standard feature in Android development. A single screen might contain many different buttons, and while they all use the same on-click interface, polymorphism allows each one to execute its own distinct task. The key for developers is distinguishing the two. Overloading happens at compile time by changing signatures. Overriding happens at runtime while keeping signatures identical. Using the @override annotation acts as a safety check. If you accidentally change the signature, the compiler will flag the error before the code ever reaches a live environment. The trade-off is between speed and flexibility. Compile time routing is static and fast, while runtime execution is dynamic and adaptable. Coordinating these two phases is how Java maintains its core design goals, ensuring that as a codebase grows, the logic remains stable and extensible.